Just below Day Mountain and the railroad tracks is a magnolia tree, and when that baby blooms, the rest of spring follows. The sight of peak spring after a long winter gives you hope for the year ahead. The transformation from stark gray nothing to rainbows of life is a miracle. And the more you study the changes of spring as they come, the more you begin to appreciate the power of change. The big snowstorm we got in March lingered around the hills. The hard-to-reach places held snow, and there still weren't much signs of new life by the time April rolled around.
It might be a muskrat.
The weather was consistently nice, and Allie and I started dedicating more time to daily walks. Getting the sunshine on your face early is said to help with your circadian rhythm, help you feel more energized during the day, and sleep better at night, which is exactly what we need in order to get back into our ultra-productive mode. And we started collecting some of the ingredients we would need to get the garden going and give the cabin property some life and color. And boy, was that spring runoff something to behold. And Allie and I got out as much as we could to observe the changes. So I just want to take a minute to thank this video's sponsor, which is Good Chop. The shipment just came in full of meat and seafood, and I'm honestly blown away. Companies like Good Chop just make life easier. If you live a busy life or if you're not close to a store with quality meats, Good Chop can be the solution. So you can completely customize what you get from Good Chop. 100% grass-fed ribeyes, T-bones, free-range and organic chicken breasts, thick-cut bacon, pork tenderloin. All the seafood is sustainable and wild-caught, and it will show up to your doorstep with contact-free delivery. And everything they offer is sourced in the USA. By using Good Chop, you support local family farms and independent ranchers right here in the US. Good Chop prides itself in its quality.
So there's no antibiotics or added hormones ever.
And that's why they offer a 100% money-back guarantee. We went foraging for fiddleheads last night, and then we cooked that up with the Good Chop salmon, and it was incredible. It's just so great to have a stockpile of them in the freezer. So go to goodchop.com/YouTube and use code TroutandCoffee120 to get $120 off your first 4 boxes. The link is in the video description below. That's $120 off your first 4 boxes when you go to goodchop.com/YouTube and use the code TroutandCoffee120. So thank you to Good Chop for sponsoring this video and for supporting this channel. And now back to the story. And so Allie and I were continuing our consistent daily walks, and we visited places that we had hiked in the spring after we first met. And with each new day, new tiny details emerged.
I wonder what it is. I wonder what the first thing that pops up would be.
Maybe the plant app would tell you.
And there were t-shirt afternoons in early April, which started melting all the hard-to-reach snow. And it wouldn't be long before the cabin road was free and clear, and we could get back to work.
Wow.
Quiet.
And frogs had begun laying their eggs in the vernal pools.
Look at them all swimming around.
Oh, look at that one just came out of the water.
Wow.
And though there were a lot of warm days, the cold mornings weren't gone quite yet.
This thing is always blooming. Wait, did you just want to look and see about the garage real quick, just to see?
And the daydreams continued, and faint signs of yellow started showing up on the hillside near our tiny apartment, though the final patches of snow were yet to melt. And that snow fed the rivers, and the rivers raged on. And we celebrated a few birthdays at Allie's parents' house and played badminton in the yard while we grilled. And small red buds were on the trees and ready to pop. blew back to the shop once again to get the exhaust leak fixed and hopefully have her back and ready for spring cleaning. And in mid-April, I shaved my head, and I felt free in the spring sun. One day we rode up to the little red house and caught some early signs of spring before dinner.
This is so crazy looking.
And it was on the way home from our trip to New Hampshire that we drove by the Dreaming Tree late and saw the beacon of spring in bright flame. I sent a picture to my good friend Mason, who had been living on a boat in the Caribbean since February. And I thought of the spring of 2021, where we sat on the branches of this very tree after working on my old blue truck at his uncle's garage. I missed having him around, but I was happy that he was out exploring the earth and finding new inspiration. But I know seeing these buttes would make any Hilltown boy long for home. And slowly but surely, that hillside across from the apartment filled in, and the grass greened up, and the winter sand was swept from the streets. And as the magnolia tree began its show, I got a text from my friend Jared about hiking into a native brook trout stream.
That thing really does run, huh? That Jeep? Oh, hey! He doesn't seem to mind.
The water was deep and brown, but the trout were still sleepy. But boy, the peepers were ear-piercing in the back pond. just as we retired our lines for the evening, the spring rain came. And as the hillsides continued to green up, Allie and I had some of the venison steaks Jared gave us, which had me thinking about how I wanted to learn to hunt my own venison this year. And before long, the gray was gone. And by the end of April, the magnolia was full tilt. The hillside was fully budded. Yards were mowed and small purple and white flowers popped up through the grass. And it was spring beyond a doubt. And I did what I always do this time of year and hiked the mountain to look for the first signs of trillium, trout lilies, and Carolina spring beauties. And the mountain was alive, and by the time I headed home, the crescent moon was belly up in the baby blue sky. And shortly after, we headed south.
It's cold. It's May 4th, May 5th. But it's cold. It's wood stove weather right now. I think it's 40-something degrees. And Allie and I just got home from a trip down to Mexico with our good friends. It was a very, very interesting experience. Did a lot of reading and a lot of writing, and Now we're back home, very excited to get back to work. We didn't miss spring either. I thought we were gonna miss the main blooms, but it hasn't peaked yet, so feel relief because I love watching it happen. It's time to get to work on the cabin. Allie's going all in on the garden, getting that ready. The time to plant is now, and I'm gonna start finishing the little things on the inside. I gotta hook the propane up to the stove, and then I gotta do our little water system for the sink. So 2 things I've never done before that I'm excited to tackle. And then after that, we're moving the rest of our stuff in, and then we're gonna finish up the outside, the cedar shakes, and gotta do some stuff to the porch and get it tidy. It's very, very messy there. That's one of the main things that irks me, is how messy and how much stuff there is around. Waiting to hear on some other really exciting news. I don't really want to talk too much about it, but it should be happening soon. But the goal right now, the focus this May, is to really go all in on the cabin. It feels so good to be back in the Trooper. In Mexico, nearly all the cars are manual. The taxi drivers, the Uber drivers, they go through some of the wildest traffic you've ever seen, and they're driving a manual the whole time, and they're super calm and collected. You wouldn't even know they were driving a manual. And it just had me dreaming about the Trooper and getting back on these calm roads, and feels good to be back.
And so we were back at the cabin, picking up where we left off in the winter, ready to give it everything we had to really finish up.
Love it here, especially after being in the city for a week in Mexico City and spending so much time in the apartment this winter. It is so nice to be outside and to smell the wood stove and to see the flowers.